Economic development happens when money comes from outside a region into the region.
It's our job to serve people and to make their lives better.
I spend a lot of time in Garfield County, Enid in particular.
That's probably one of the hardest things, to get the good title.
Everyone deserves help.
And he's been very instrumental in trying to make this deal work out.
We're basically self-insuring 100% of the loss.
Now having a new measurement tool to make certain we're ready.
My old friend.
Some girls have even led adoption drives for local rescue agencies.
I want to try to focus on the things out of life that are positive.
City Connections begins right now.
Hello and welcome to City Connections. I'm Steve Kime with the City of Enid. Thank you for joining us today. My very special guest is the Chief Executive Officer of St. Mary's Regional Medical Center, and that's Krista Roberts. Krista, good to see you.
Nice to see you again.
For inviting us to your office today.
Absolutely.
And we're going to give you a break from doing CEO stuff to visit with us here on the Enid Television Network. I'd like to mention that Krista has served as Chief Operating Officer at the hospital and has more than 20 years of hospital leadership. And so just to introduce yourself to the world out there, Krista, tell us about your educational, maybe achievements or credentials, if you will, and then tell us about your role as CEO. That sounds very serious. So tell us a little bit about yourself, please.
Okay, sure, absolutely. Well, I actually got my start in healthcare as a junior volunteer. So I kind of got bit by the healthcare bug early on in life and decided that that was a career I wanted to pursue. And so ironically, two of my other good friends that were also junior volunteers with me, one became a physician, one became a pediatric ICU nurse. So I think that all of us have tremendously enjoyed our careers in healthcare. And I went to undergraduate school at OSU, and that's where I met my husband, who's from the Enid area. And so when we got married, we landed back over here in Enid, and it's been a great community for both of us, both professionally and personally. And in terms of when people ask me, how did I get my start in healthcare and, you know, what's your educational background? I have to be honest and say I've really kind of taken the scenic route getting here. So much like my golf game, where I see the whole course and not just the fairway. But
you want to get your money's worth, so you want to see the whole place.
Absolutely. Well, I certainly got my tuition's monies there for sure. But I pursued my undergraduate at OSU and went to grad school there, and then got married and came to Enid, and that was in the early 90s, actually 90 to be specific. And at that time, the insurance plans and the healthcare industry was really not so focused on wellness, which was really part of my background there that I had pursued initially and in graduate school. And so I found myself in a position where I had to reinvent myself, reinvent my career. Sure. If I wanted to stay in healthcare and stay in Enid specifically. And so I was introduced to the field of physical therapy. Absolutely loved it, fell in love with that. And so I applied and was accepted into physical therapist assistant school. And I chose that because it allowed me to continue working at the hospital during the day, and then I could commute at night, 3 nights a week to Oklahoma City. So I did that for several years and completed that degree and obtained that license, and spent several years there in the physical therapy department and led that department for about 12 years. And an opportunity became available then in business development here at the hospital. And during that same time, I went back to school and got my master's in healthcare administration because I'd really zeroed in that healthcare was where I wanted to be long term. And so I completed that degree, went into business development, absolutely loved that position. That was heavily focused on physician recruitment, helping build new service lines for St. Mary's, expanding some of our existing service lines. And then another piece of that job that I really enjoyed was going out into rural Oklahoma, northwest Oklahoma, north central Oklahoma, meeting with those hospitals, meeting with those providers out there in those areas to see how we could become a partner in healthcare. We recognize that healthcare really needs to stay local. And so my goal then was for those smaller rural communities, what resources do you need? How can we work together so that care can stay local, but if and when it reaches a point where you need to refer a patient on or transfer a patient on, we would love to be your provider of choice then. And so that's really how I approached business development. Again, I loved that position. but there was just a little part of me that was really missing the operations aspect of the organization. And so when an opportunity became available to move into the Chief Operating Officer role, I jumped at that. That got me closer, again, to my ancillary departments. And so I served in that capacity for almost 7 years. And a year and a half ago, the opportunity became available to move into the Chief Executive Officer role. And so I jumped at that, and I have absolutely loved every step of the way. I think every position that I've held in the organization has really helped shape me and helped me kind of form my own leadership style. I always said that, you know, if I was ever in a leadership capacity someday, this is how I would do it when I was the employee at the bedside. And so I've always tried to remember that and always keep that in mind as I'm making a lot of decisions here in the organization. I'm a strong believer that those closest to the problem, which for a lot of us, is our frontline employees, a lot of times they have the best ideas on how to solve a lot of the problems. So I'm quick to go back to them and ask them, how do you think we should do this? How do you think we should resolve this issue?
In my many years of interviewing a variety of individuals, from NFL players to governors and everybody in between, school teachers, educators, and so forth, I always like to ask them about their careers, and which you've shared your resume with us. But I'm always reminded of Winston Churchill when he said he had prepared all of his life for this particular moment. So as you're sharing all the steps that you took, it was like you've been preparing all your life for this particular moment. Krista, this interview, of course, airs on local Channel 12 and 112 here in Enid, Oklahoma, but it will live stream around the globe. So when it airs, for people who don't have cable TV, we have a lot of friends in Germany and Japan and just different places that keep up with Vance Air Force Base. So we live stream our interviews. And so there will be people around the globe watching this interview. And that's why I will say Enid, Oklahoma, just let people know where we're at. So that's the lead into the next question for someone around the globe that may be watching this. They've heard of Enid, Oklahoma, they've heard of Vance, but how would you describe St. Mary's Regional Medical Center? They know the other two, but maybe they don't know about St. Mary's. How would you define the medical center?
Sure. St. Mary's we're a licensed, 229-bed licensed general acute care facility. We do have a 22-bed inpatient CARF accredited rehab unit. We've also got a 15-bed adult behavioral health unit. We have services available. We're a level 3 trauma center. So I think that's important for people in this area to recognize, because actually our trauma level status is similar to most hospitals in Oklahoma City. The only hospital that has a higher level trauma rating than St. Mary's in Oklahoma City is OU Medical Center. So that is surprising to a lot of people. They think that a lot of times there's the perception that bigger is better, and I want to make sure that the residents of Enid and Northwest Oklahoma understand the high quality care that is available here. You would be very hard pressed to find a hospital that has higher quality ratings, higher patient satisfaction ratings, and more awards than what we've received in the last several years based on the care that we're able to deliver here. We have everything from neurosurgery services to nephrology to oncology. We have very strong primary care base. So we're very fortunate that we've got a great group of physicians here. A lot of them grew up in Northwest Oklahoma or grew up in a rural part of Oklahoma and have specifically chosen to practice in a community such as Enid. So we're very fortunate.
And this is one of the themes for doing these City Connections interview, is really to highlight the Enid community, to remind people you don't have to drive to Tulsa. You don't have to go to Fort Worth. I mean, you don't have to go to Oklahoma City to raise the awareness of what we have here in Enid, Oklahoma. Well, we're going to talk in just a few minutes about many of the achievements that St. Mary's Hospital has received, some certifications, and just some accolades that they've received. But let's get back to talk a little bit more about CEO Krista Roberts. In preparing for my visit, Krista, with you today, I noticed kind of the typical CEO resume, or vita, if you will, of your civic involvement. When you see CEOs, you see this laundry list of, you know, United Way, leadership this, leadership that, Red Cross, and all of this. Why are you involved in giving back to the community? Because I think it's important for people to know, man, they're a busy person, they're CEO, but they're going to be plugged in these organizations. Why is it important?
I think it is very important for us to be very involved. We want to be a good, strong community partner. I was raised in a home where both my parents volunteered frequently within our community, so that was very natural for us. My husband and I are raising our daughter in the same environment, so we hope that she continues volunteering as an adult. But I think it's very important for both myself and our employees to be very actively involved in our community, whether that be give of your time, give of your knowledge, give of your resources, whatever might be appropriate in whatever you're able to do. But I do think it's very important that we be a good, strong community partner.
I think it speaks volume of the culture, of the leadership, and also the organization when you see people involved in a particular organization, when you see them in all aspects of the community. Well, St. Mary's is the first hospital in the state of Oklahoma to achieve the Joint Commission's advanced certification for total hip and total knee replacement. Right. I'm a retired runner. I've been running since the 3rd grade. I don't run anymore, but I don't need any of these replacement parts. But it's kind of good to know that St. Mary's has received this certification. Right. Tell us what that certification is and the importance of it, if you would.
Sure, sure. Well, it's an optional survey, so it's something that we chose to pursue on our own. And I think it's through the Joint Commission. I believe that what it does is it reassures our community and it reassures everyone accessing health care of the high quality health care available specifically in that orthopedic service line for total joints, total hips and total knees specifically. What it is it's a multi-day intensive survey where they come in with their survey team and they are looking over everything from our order sets, which is what the physicians order for the patient, the care plans. They want to see that the patients are actively involved in setting goals. They want to see that there's good, strong communication between the physician offices on the outpatient side and the hospital. They looked closely at all of our preoperative education that we provide to our patients prior to having their surgery, just to help them kind of set the tone and set the expectation for what will happen with them. But I think as much as anything, it demonstrates to the community and demonstrates to the public that we're following evidence-based practice. And that, I think, is a very strong statement. The surveyor was very impressed. We actually have just now completed our 2-year recertification. So we're very pleased with everyone that was part of that process. Our physicians are very integrally involved, a lot of nursing staff, the physical and occupational therapy staff. It's just everybody that really comes together to deliver a high-quality outcome for those patients.
I think from a patient's point of view, anytime you see an organization or certificates on the wall saying first in this or that, it's a little bit more comforting than walking into a facility that says last place. You know? Right. So,
I'm very competitive, and that will not happen.
That's just my personal opinion. I kind of want the best doctor and the best care. Or whatever. Absolutely,
like as do we all. And that's exactly why we choose to seek out these opportunities. We feel like it helps us elevate our care just a level above. And again, I mentioned I'm very competitive, and so is our team. But we do it because we feel like who benefits from that is our patients. And that's what's always at the center of our decisions.
In preparation of the visit today, I noticed that St. Mary's has received 4 consecutive A hospital safety grades, and we'll talk about that right after this break. The special guest on City Connections, the CEO of St. Mary's Regional Medical Center, is Krista Roberts. Thank you for joining us. We'll be back with Krista right after this. Welcome back to City Connections. We sincerely appreciate you staying with us today as I visit with the CEO of the St. Mary's Regional Medical Center. The CEO is Krista Roberts. Krista, you've been very forthcoming on some real important information about awards, accreditations, and certification, things of this nature. But in preparation for the meeting, as I said a moment ago, St. Mary's has received 4 consecutive A hospital safety grades. I don't know what it means, but it sounds really good to me. Can you kind of explain to us what these safety grades and the fact that it's an A Can you tell us what that means?
Sure. That specific safety grade was awarded to us by the Leapfrog organization, which is a national organization, and they're reviewing a lot of publicly reportable data.
Okay.
So they also review a lot of CMS data, or Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services. They pull a lot of their data from that database as well. And I'm proud to say we are also a CMS 5-star hospital, which is the highest star rating that Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services will award a hospital. So we're very, very proud of that award as well. There's several others that go on there. But really what that, I think probably the message for that is, there is high quality care that's available right here in Enid. You don't have to drive to Tulsa, you don't have to drive to Oklahoma City, you don't have to drive to Dallas to receive high quality care. We have a very strong team that's focused every day on providing quality outcomes. It's a topic in every one of our medical staff meetings. It's a topic in every one of our hospital leadership team meetings. So it is our focus. How can we continue to deliver that high quality care on a consistent basis? And I think when you speak to the consistency of how many awards and recognitions we've had on a continuous basis here, I think that's a very strong statement that we have a lot of processes in place. Sure. Those things are hardwired, or else it might just be a one high rating and then come back down. But that's not been our record here, and we're very proud of that. But again, we've hired strong leaders, strong people to lead those areas, and given them the resources and the necessary tools to be able to do their jobs well. There's a lot of collaboration that goes on with that. We have a very close connection with our medical staff. They're very integrally involved in all of these quality data. They review quality data at every one of their meetings, and so they are a very strong part of this program as well. Well,
I appreciate you saying 5-star, because I think if we ever travel and we check into a 5-star hotel, we have high expectations. So it's
That's
good.
Right.
It's good for you to say of the 5-star here at St. Mary's.
That's right.
Well, let's talk a little bit about some things that are happening, things that are moving. And you had mentioned earlier, before we started taping, the Cancer Center is moved to Parkview Tower, or Parkview, excuse me. Tell us about this project.
Yes, that will be moving to Parkview Tower, actually. Okay. It's currently located on our 2nd floor. They are at capacity where they're at right now, so we are kind of juggling things around. We've continued to allocate more space to that program as the need developed. But certainly as we saw the closure of the Mercy Oncology Clinic in December, we had a lot of patients transfer over to our service as well during that time frame, and so it was a strong commitment that we made to those patients and to the Mercy Oncology group that we would make sure that there was no interruption, no disruption in that cancer regimen, cancer treatment protocol during that time frame. And so we accommodated a lot of additional patients. We were already in the midst of our construction and design project for the 5th tower. We will be relocating that to the entire 5th floor of the Parkview Medical Building. We're going through the process right now with the Oklahoma State Department of Health to get approval for that, and we hope to be able to start construction very soon.
Through a lot of our programming on the Enid Television Network, we've reached out to the Enid community, to various medical resources, if you will. And Krista, we've reached out recently to Dr. John Bartolozzi, and there's been Dr. Pontius, and the list goes on of different people that we've had from St. Mary's that's sure. helped us on some of our programming. And Dr. Bartolozzi talked a little bit about a new cath lab. So besides this Parkview Tower development, tell us about the new cath lab. And I think one thing that Dr. Bartolozzi said is that we're running out of room. We got to make space for things. So tell us about that.
That is true. That is true. That's a great problem to have. We're in a growth mode, and certainly that's a problem that we all love to have. But specifically speaking to the cath lab, we're very excited about this. This is a significant investment for us. It's about $1 million investment. It will bring the latest technology that's available. Actually, the vendor that we're purchasing it from, there's no other hospital in the country right now that has this technology out there. So that's how new a technology it will be. So we're very excited. We're actually building our cath lab with the assistance of the vendor to become a show hospital for other hospitals to potentially bring their teams to look at our cath lab, talk to our cath lab staff, talk to our cardiologists to determine if that's the cath lab equipment that they would like to purchase. So we're very excited about that. We hope to be able to, we will receive that cath lab in May. May 20th is our delivery date, and we hope to be live with that by July 1.
I've certainly enjoyed our visit today. It's really gone quick, and I think anytime on television time, I think the clock really speeds up. And we've talked so much about what St. Mary's is doing, the impact that it has on the Enid, Oklahoma community. So let's talk about you as we close out this visit. So as the CEO, outside of family things, is there anything that keeps you up at night? Besides
how long do we have for this section?
Yeah, besides bad pizza, too many jalapenos or something like that.
That's right.
Because I think people are watching, they go, well, you know, that's kind of a different world. I wonder what some of the things that she faces, and I wonder if she's really up at night about stuff.
Right.
I think if you have a new $1 million investment in a medical procedure or whatever, that's probably a concern. But
sure.
Your answer to that question is what?
Well, I think there's a lot of things that keep me up at night, but I think probably the prevailing, yeah, that's right. Okay, you're going to put me on the timer. The prevailing one, I strongly believe, is going to be the workforce of the future. You mentioned our cath lab. We've talked about our growing oncology services. Our inpatient census is growing. Our outpatient services are growing. So I worry from a perspective of we have to make sure that we've got plenty of workforce then in that pipeline. As some of our employees get older, choose to retire, I have to make sure that we have a constant pipeline of those coming in. The Bureau of Labor Statistics actually just released some information this week indicating the fastest growing, the top 20 fastest growing positions in the country by 2026, and healthcare comprises 9 of those 20. So obviously that gets my attention. We do work very closely with our career tech centers, with our universities around the area, training programs around the area, to try to make sure that there's ample pipeline of students coming in. But what we're trying to do is also consciously make an effort to try to communicate more with the high school students, try to communicate with those individuals, maybe in undergraduate school, maybe those that haven't even considered healthcare as an opportunity. I was fortunate that I got exposed to it at an early age, but unless you've had an injury, unless you've had a loved one who's had some type of illness or maybe been exposed to the hospital, a lot of people don't even realize all the careers that are available within healthcare. And I think that a lot of people think of healthcare as the physician, the nurse. But there's so many other things that make an organization, make a hospital work every day: the pharmacist, the physical therapist, the occupational therapist, the respiratory therapist, the lab technicians. There's just a whole plethora that goes on the clinical side. And behind the scenes, you have a lot of people driving the information systems.
Information services, this bill?
If we lost our computers today, it's a bad day. I don't even want to go down the hallway and talk to folks if our computer systems have gone down for a short period of time. But there's just so many different opportunities for careers within healthcare. And that really is one of my goals, is try to expose other people that maybe haven't thought about healthcare yet as a potential career opportunity. That's my goal, is to expose them. And I personally think healthcare is just a great career. I love it. I can't see myself doing anything different. I love what I'm doing every day, and I love who I'm doing it with. And to me, that makes all the difference in the world.
Well, I sincerely appreciate you sharing your passion for this. As you were sharing in the last answer, I was reminded of a gentleman many, many years ago, early in my professional career. He said, Steve, remember this, just always surround yourself with the best people.
That's absolutely right.
Just always surround. So as you're going through answering all these questions today, I just kept hearing that message over and over that Krista Roberts has surrounded herself with the best people.
Absolutely. So, very smart, very bright, very talented people.
Thank you for your time today. Appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
Our very special guest on City Connections, the CEO of St. Mary's Regional Medical Center, Krista Roberts. Thank you for joining us again. We appreciate the opportunity, and I look forward to being in another CEO office in the near future, and that'll be very special. Again, Krista Roberts, thank you very much. Thank you for watching. Until next time, this is Steve Kime with the City of Enid here on the Enid Television Network. Thank you for watching, and make it a great day.